Top Hat Gaming Man here with a list of 10 weird and wonderful characters, which would make great additions to the Smash Brothers roster. In order to make today's list, I am teaming up with fellow YouTube channel Deathmountaineers. Why this channel, you may ask? Because the channel has on it some of the finest gaming videos I've seen, and for some reason they only have about 600 subscribers. The channel's videos on Breath of the Wild's timeline placement and how the Pokédex are wrong are of high enough standard to not look out of place on channels like Game Theory, for example. So I strongly advise you to become an early adopter and check this channel out, whilst it's still a hidden gem. Now without further ado, let me welcome my guest Meikuru to the channel today.
Hiya mate, how do?
I did not understand what you were saying. What are these preposterous colloquialisms?
Oh, you know, just trying to apply bits and bobs I picked up whilst learning your culture and such, so as not to be a shout to your audience, eh?
Do not worry, my audience do not expect people from the old British colonies to be able to speak with the same level of class as myself. I cannot bloody speak with an American accent either. See, let me just give it a try. Hey guys, I want to go eat some junk food and talk about how much we love Jesus and guns. Wouldn't that be swell?
Hey, that wasn't too bad if I do say so myself. Alright guys, I hope you're ready for this shit. Top Hat, why don't you lead us into our subject?
Of course. Today we are going to be counting down the top 10 characters Nintendo will never allow in Smash. Because this is a list of characters who either do not fit the Nintendo mold, are not considered relevant enough for the Japanese, or are just simply a bit too stupid to be included in Smash. So saying that, this is the same fighter where you can play as a bleeding Wii Fit trainer, so who am I to judge? Okay, let me start off by asking our viewers a question. What was the most popular portable game of the late 90s? This game was a cultural phenomenon and got more people gaming than any time period ever before. I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about the answer. If your answer to this question is Pokemon, then you, ladies and gentlemen, are bloody wrong. Under 25 million copies of Pokemon Red and Blue were sold, whereas the game Snake on the Nokia range of phones was much more accessible. There were over 160 million Nokia 3210 models sold alone, and that's without including all the other models of Nokia that were sold around the same time period. The game Snake was the killer app that made the phone as popular as it was. So when talking about portable gaming in the late 90s, people shouldn't be all about Bulbasaur this and Charmander that. In reality, in the 90s, most of us were memory this and rotation that. So yes, making the Nokia Snake a Smash Brothers character, what would his special moves be? Well, who cares, I suppose. I will leave that for the developers to decide. Although I do think that the Snake should get longer and faster every time he attacks. In fact, if he gets too long and fast, you may even accidentally let him run off the screen, leading to your impending doom, of course. The Snake from Nokia is every bit as iconic and influential as any other character in Smash. The game Snake is to mobile gaming what Pac-Man and Space Invaders are to the arcades, or what Super Mario is to the side-scrolling genre. Mobile gaming continues to kick Nintendo's ass to this day, and I see more little children now playing with tablets and smartphones than I ever do 3DS's. So on that note, Snake is the quintessential mobile gaming icon that desperately deserves a place on this list.
So you're definitely thinking to yourself, I like arcade racers, they're represented in Smash, we have Captain Falcon, but do you know what we're missing? An actual car. Well, that's incredibly coincidental that you're thinking that, because my number 5 pick is a car. The Sega Daytona Racing Hornet enters the fight. Now, you might be asking yourself, how could a car possibly fight in Super Smash Bros? Well, I've got a surprise for you. This is not the Hornet's first fighting game appearance. Way back in the days of yore, also known as 1996, Sega released Fighters Mega Mix on the not-so-acclaimed Sega Saturn. This game truly revolutionized the fighting genre by adding in the world's first fighting car, number 41, the Hornet. Possibly the best fighting game character of all time, the Hornet could do amazing things like hit you with its wheels, and jump, kind of. But since then, this race car has fallen into obscurity, which is why it's time it came back. We'd give it powers like fireballs and some fucking bat wings for a double jump, why the hell not? And for the final smash, the entire Daytona circuit races across the screen, destroying all in its wake. Pure gold.
Snakes and cars, we are off to a good start. Now, what about the addition of a miner? A manic miner, to be precise. Back in 1983, the United States was apparently going through their video game crash, rendering most of their gaming industry to a grinding halt. In my country of the United Kingdom, on the other hand, we were experiencing the golden age of microcomputer gaming. One of the most iconic characters from this critical period in gaming was Miner Willy. Miner Willy's first appearance was in the platforming game Manic Miner for the ZX Spectrum, but also appeared in other games across multiple microcomputers such as the MSX, the Amstrad CPC and the Commodore 64. I feel a ZX Spectrum representative is deeply needed within the Smash roster, especially when you consider most of the Rare team originally cut their teeth in game programming on this system. Without the Spectrum, there would be most likely no GoldenEye, Banjo, Conker, Diddy Kong's Racing, etc., which would have made the Nintendo 64 a rather desolate platform. Rule Britannia!
Now, we may have missed out on the whole microcomputer fad over there in the UK, but that was because us Americans were too busy lining our neoconservative pockets with money and our noses with cocaine. Those hairspray-addled brains spawned a younger generation of edgelord arcade rats raised on such IPs as Spawn and Blade. Now, with the inclusion of characters like Bayonetta, we know that the Smash devs are ready to take on some darker characters, so why not a character that was created from starving survivors eating the flesh of their companions? That's right, I'm talking about the Wendigo. But not just any Wendigo, this Wendigo from the X-Men arcade. This 4-player arcade classic was a favorite of mine as a kid, and my poor grandmother is never going to get those quarters back. With sick moves like Scratch Somebody and Face Grab, Wendigo could be a true competitor, with great lines like Wendigo and Wendigo. This quintessential Marvel character is a timeless classic that deserves no less than one of the top spots on Smash's character list. Let's make it happen, people.
There is one character who I think would fit this crazy fighting game perhaps more than any other, and his name is John Cena! John Cena already has 5 moves that would all be perfect for Smash. But apart from that, John Cena's kid-friendly appeal and brightly coloured clothing make him an automatic fit for Nintendo branding. I would have originally said that if we were going to put a wrestler in Smash, that Hulk Hogan would have been the perfect fit. Especially when you include all of his appearances in terrible wrestling games on the NES and Super Nintendo. But after he made a few comments, which could have came out from the mouth of Prince Philip, that ship has now since long sailed.
While I agree that John Cena has mass appeal, star power, and the cutest little shorts, I gotta go one up with a franchise that has brought the world together. Everyone knows Star Wars. The Star Wars universe is a global phenomenon spanning almost 40 years now, so riddle me this, Top Hat Gaming Man. Why is it that we don't have any Star Wars in Smash? It only makes sense with a huge list of iconic characters like Han Solo, Darth Vader, Princess Leia, and Luke Skywalker. It would only be right that none other than ya boy Cardu Sai Malak would enter the fray. From his amazing debut in the Mos Eisley Cantina scene, we knew from day one that he was going to be a star, and this isn't his first rodeo in the video game world either. A classic villain from one of the world's most acclaimed action platformers, Super Star Wars, this Deathmountaineer should 100% be making the list of Smash IPs with unforgettable moves like Jump on You a lot. He will undoubtedly be a force to reckon with on the competitive scene. Final Smash, a move called Childhood Trauma where he just looks at you and sends you into years of therapy. A must for any true Smash fan.
So I have been pondering and searching the deepest, darkest corners of my mind, trying to think of characters to put forward for this Smash video. And after reawakening repressed memories from my childhood, I thought that there is no bloody better fit than that of Mr. Blobby. Just look at this big fat pink bastard. This British character should have Nintendo branding all over him. He looks exactly like something that would have came out of a mind from some sick Japanese man who worked for Nintendo. Originally, Mr. Blobby was just a character who would make cameo appearances in Noel's House Party, a BBC light entertainment series hosted by Noel Edmonds. However, he turned into such a cultural phenomenon that he had his own song in the charts, his own spin-off television series, and even his own video game on the Commodore Amiga. Both in the game and in his television appearances, you could expect Mr. Blobby to throw a custard pie into people's faces. So therefore it would make all my sick dreams come true to see the same thing occur to Super Mario in Smash. Mr. Blobby, never forget.
Wow. That thing looks like the baby of a crack-addicted Teletubby who got fucked by Christopher Reeves, or some demonic homunculus of sloth from the Goonies and the Joker. Absolute nightmare fuel. And speaking of nightmare fuel, Resident Evil, though originally a PlayStation game, has made its way onto numerous Nintendo consoles, often resulting in some of the best ports of the games. We've seen Resi characters in fighting games before, like Marvel vs. Capcom, but don't you think it's time this epic franchise makes it into Smash? Well, I sure do, and that's why we need, nay, deserve, to see the best Resident Evil character of all time make the roster. Who am I talking about? Well, it should be obvious. The man, the myth, the legend, the true hero of the original Resident Evil, Barry Burton. Yes, the guy with the big pistol, the one we all love, Barry himself. It is time for Barry to shine once again, and with his popularity rising even more since the Game Grumps Let's Play of the Resi Remaster, now is as good a time as any. Final Smash actually turns you into a Jill sandwich.
Oh, Barry!
That was too close. You were almost a Jill sandwich.
You're right. Barry, thanks for saving my life.
So we have Minor Willie and Mr. Blobby on this list. So you are probably thinking that's too many Brits. So let's be multicultural and add a Canadian. Yeah. Trevor Phillips from GTA 5. Although far too non-child friendly to ever really appear in Smash, Trevor is probably the best character to come out of gaming in the last decade. With a personality based on Charles Bronson, Trevor is considered one of the most controversial characters in video game history. Trevor is a likeable and believable character, and he is one of the few protagonists in the Grand Theft Auto series that would willingly execute popular players' actions, such as murder and violence. Trevor kills without remorse, like a true psychopath, but is very sentimental for the right reasons when it suits him. I would love nothing more than to see the embodiment of insanity rock up to Hyrule Castle and stomp on Link's girly head about 100 times. That would be absolutely wonderful!
What an awesome choice. Trevor is such a great character, and I loved Grand Theft Auto 5. But for my #1 pick, I decided to go deep. Had to find a franchise that truly speaks to the essence of Smash, to the core of one of the best fighting game franchises of all time. So I thought, who better than a born monster slayer? A user of axes, staves, holy water, and whips. The bane of vampire kind. Classic retro video game character, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Buffy's been on Nintendo consoles since 2000, making her debut on the Game Boy Color before making her way over to the Xbox for a bit, before returning, thankfully, to Nintendo. Buffy could bring an extensive arsenal of weapons to the game, as well as her super strength and 7 seasons of emotional baggage. Final Smash gets a life back instead of doing damage to others, cause, you know, how many times was she brought back to life? But really, I love Buffy, and when she made her guest appearance on Call of Duty Black Ops back in the day, I was ecstatic. If Nintendo wasn't so wrapped up in their masturbatory orgy of original IPs, I think we all know Buffy could enter the fray and own the scene.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer in Smash? Sounds absolutely ludicrous. Next you'll be telling me we want to add Ally McBeal to the Smash roster because it needs more single female lawyers. I do not think you took this video very seriously at all, young man. The future inclusions of the likes of Mr. Blobby is a much more likely occurrence. Then again, I would pick Buffy over bloody Villager any day of the week. Who the hell likes the Villager?
Not me, worst character ever. I think we have here between the two of us an ultimate, now scratch that, a definitive list of the best characters that will probably never make it to the Smash stage.
We would love to hear all of your weird and wonderful suggestions. So none of this Banjo, Bomberman, Lara Croft nonsense. I want Plox, Horaces and Mr. T's. The more bizarre the better. Who knows, maybe we'll use your suggestions for a follow-up video. So like, comment and subscribe to our channels. And if you are new to either of our content, then click one of the annotations now to see some of our previous works.
Absolutely, and Top Hat Gaming Man, thank you so much for the kind words. I had a blast doing this. These past couple weeks have been super fun, and I can't wait for more in the future. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time.
Cheerio!